Hello and welcome to this MSP Voice webinar series presented by Cloudberry and MSP Voice, mspvoice.com for all things MSP Voice. A couple of housekeeping items. The session is being recorded and will be made available within a week on the mspvoice.com website as well as YouTube. If you have any questions during this for either myself or the presenter, please utilize the Q&A box in the GoToWebinar control panel. Be happy to answer those. So I'd like to welcome everyone to this MSP Voice webinar series featuring Stuart Crawford from Ulistic, and he's going to talk about the lessons he's learned marketing MSPs for over 17 years. Stuart, why don't you take it away and tell us what you know?
Well, Doug, I think we'll be over in like a minute if I did that. No, in all fairness, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Doug, for this wonderful opportunity to talk to everybody today. As Doug mentioned, my name is Stuart Crawford, and I'm very fortunate every day to serve as the CEO and president of Ulistic. We are a boutique. I actually like to say we're a small and boutique marketing agency for managed service providers. We've really defined that over the last little while. And we love talking to MSPs every day about helping them run successful marketing campaigns and win new business. And as I like to say, get them more opportunity to talk to their market. So I'm very fortunate to have this opportunity to speak to you all today. As I go through my slides, and I'm going to tell you everything I learned about marketing. And let me be very honest with you all up front and share this with you, because I think it's very, very important to give you the cornerstone of where I got to. So everything I've learned about marketing, I've swiped. I have no formal marketing education. I am a Microsoft certified systems engineer. NT4 MCSEs. Date myself just a little bit, but
I'm the same as me, so that's no worries there.
Exactly, but I think it's important that I came out of the engineer ranks. I was an engineer. I got my MCSE, I got my CNA with Cisco or with Novell. Heaven forbid, Doug, I was even a Banyan Vine system administrator.
That's a little bit further back than me, but
that goes back a long way, right?
Yeah, I cut my teeth on Novell too, so.
But everything I learned about marketing, I learned from watching others. And even watching our friend from Nashville in 2005 at SME Nation, just sitting in the audience and just, taking ideas and running it into putting it into practice my own MSP, which I'll get into shortly. But I'm very proud to say that I swiped a lot of my knowledge from others. And if you understand the acronym SWIPE, it stands for Steal with Integrity and Pride Every Day. So I have no fear. Even to this day, today, I watch lots of YouTube videos. I watch all kinds of other marketers, and I watch what they do, and then I take that advice and those strategies and employ it to what I do with Ulistic, but also for our clients every single day. And yeah, we're located in beautiful Sebring, Florida, which I like to say at this time of the year is the love bug capital of Florida. If you are in Florida, you know exactly what these little menaces can do. If you're not from Florida, these are bugs that come out once or twice a year, and the way they get their name is they join at the backside of each other and they fly around as pairs. That's hence the word love bug. But in Sebring, we have seems to be a concentration of them right now, and everywhere you turn, they're everywhere. So we are officially the love bug capital of Florida this week. And the other thing about marketing as well is marketing isn't rocket science. If an engineer guy like me, I finished my formal education was a high school education in Canada, grade 12. I graduated in Ontario. I hated school back in the day, so I got out in 3.5 years and joined the military. So marketing to me isn't rocket science. It's just common sense. And I'm going to talk about some of my lessons I learned over the next little while here, and hopefully open the thought patterns in your own head about how to you can take it and market your own managed service business. What this webinar is not going to be, and I'm sure Doug's very happy with this, it's not going to be a death by PowerPoint. I'm not going to sit here and just roll PowerPoint after PowerPoint after PowerPoint to you. I'm going to share some real life lessons, mistakes I have made, and successes that I have had over the years, and then show you what you can do, and also talk to you about what today's business owners really care about. And then anything else that comes up from the questions. As Doug mentioned, this is your time. I just have to be the facilitator of this next 50 some odd minutes we have together. So please, I encourage you to use this time to your advantage. If you have any marketing or sales related questions, feel free to ask them now, and we'll get to them, because this is your time. I'm just happen to be the facilitator of the time right now. So I'll encourage you to use this time to your total effectiveness. So my story, I joined the Canadian Army when I was 18. Like I said, I finished high school. I worked my way up I like to think all throughout my life I was very fortunate. I started working at the local Burger King when I was 14. I worked my way up to assistant manager by the time I was 17. I decided to join the Army when I was 18. I served 8 years in the Canadian military as a radio operator, which got me into IT. I was very fortunate in my military career to be advance promoted a couple of times throughout my career. So I'm, very, very fast moving through the ranks type person. I did learn my IT skills in the military. That's where I got my Banyan Vines. At that time, the Canadian military was running Banyan Vines. I took my release from the military service in 1997. I was very blessed to meet a gentleman by the name of John DeYoung, who gave me my first job as a civilian in the IT space. And I'll tell you, this is how easy it can be. John was interviewing for Novell system administrators at the time. I walked into my interview and John asked me, "Hey, what do you know about Novell?" And my answer was, "I know how to spell it, Novell." And I said, "That's all I know. That's all I know about Novell. I don't know anything else, but I'm a fast learner and I can learn it." And the guy gave me an opportunity. And
did he give you the big red books too and say, "Here, read these"?
Yeah, that was before having everything online, right? And all these user forums and stuff that we can go to. If there was user forums, it was one of those ones you had to dial in on a 14.4 modem and bulletin board services.
Yep.
Right. But I was very fortunate there, and I got my feet wet as an IT professional working there. I learned Novell. I learned NT351, NT4. I got very fortunate. Worked with some great mentors at the time. Then I joined a company called Mirac Projects, which was later bought out by Schlumberger. That's where I learned the importance of vertical markets. And in reviewing my slide deck today, I don't get into vertical markets too much, but Mirac was an oil and gas software company, and all of my contacts were in the energy sector. And when I started IT Matters, which was my own MSP, I took that knowledge of the energy industry and put it to practice running an IT service company. And we became the leading oil and gas related IT company. And although we did have other clients outside of oil and gas, primarily all of our clients were oil and gas focused, to the point where I would even send my engineers, Doug, this is a very important lesson about verticalization. I actually sent my engineers to the local community college to learn about the oil and gas industry, so they can have real life or real discussions with our clients about what spudding a well meant, or shutting in a well, or looking at a map and understanding, and be able to say, "Oh, that's a gas well," or "That's an oil well." Just have that basic understanding, because a lot of our competition didn't do that. So understanding that. And the next piece of it which was important, was taking my experience from Mirac, was creating strong relationships. And I'm going to get into a little bit of this too, getting into making strong relationships with every company that serviced the same clients we did. If they were a software company or a trucking company or a drilling company, I got to know every sales professional, every technical person in the marketplace, so that when they heard that XYZ Petroleum was having computer problems, that was just enough to say, "Hey, you should talk to this guy named Stuart. He knows everything about computers in the oil and gas business."
Cool.
So that's how we built IT Matters. I'm going to get into my 2x4 story in a second, but we built IT Matters from 3 guys fixing computers in 2001, and I was very fortunate to exit out of the company in 2008, and at that time we were $5.5 million and 34 employees. I know some MSPs that are 25 years in the business, and still struggling to make $1 million.
Yeah, that's some tremendous growth in that amount of time. So
And you know what, we were very fortunate. Oil was $150 a barrel. We
yeah.
were having parties in the streets, and we're paving the streets with gold, and money was like, it was like that movie Wolf of Wall Street when people were just throwing money out the windows.
Yeah.
Well, that was what it was like in Calgary at that time. So it was very easy if you couldn't succeed. And I'm going to steal a line from Gary Vaynerchuk. If you couldn't succeed, you really sucked, right? That was but the thing is, the market was the same for our competition as well.
Yeah.
So if it was good for us, it was good for them. And I'm going to talk about competition in a little bit. But my 2x4 story, Doug, is this. So 2001, 2002, 2003, I was a tech running around. Me, Tony, and Rob. We had our group of clients, like all small MSPs start with. We had, I had my clients that I was responsible for. Tony had his, and Rob had his, and never should the streams cross, right? We're just three guys, silos, just running around like chickens with our heads cut off. And then we hired Mark Lopez. Mark was our first employee that we hired.
Okay.
And I remember taking Mark to a client because Tony and Rob said, "Hey, have Mark shadow you, and that would be great for him to learn what you do." And I said, "No problem, we'll take Mark around." And Mark was your typical new tech. I'm sure everybody on the call today has been here where they take a new tech out and the client says, "Hey, Stuart, can you just come back and take care of things? Because, your new guy, not really as good as you are." And I had to push back and say, "You know what? Mark is technically much better than I am." He goes, "My technical skills were swapping hard drive, putting memory in, and maybe installing Windows. Like, I wasn't your typical technician, right?"
Mm-hmm.
I squeaked by my TCP/IP exam for my MCSE with I think you needed 768 to pass, and I got a 768. I was not a technical, but so my 2x4 story is this, Doug. What I was better at was sales and marketing. And
Okay.
my two partners were more introverted than I was. So I was the typical extrovert of the group, right? I learned that I was very good at talking to people, understanding their needs, being, showing some level of empathy, although my wife probably would disagree with me now on that. But being empathetic to their needs and a lot of things, and just being able to listen to them. And so in 2004, I got hit over the head with the proverbial 2x4, where I said, if I'm going to grow this company, I got to stop being a tech.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to focus on business development and, marketing, sales, and everything kind of that falls into the business development world. So I did that.
Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of MSPs, and I think that's one of the hardest transitions for a lot of folks to make, is to realize, hey, I need to focus on the business and less on the doing.
Well, it's not that difficult, but I'll tell you, and I understand, because I've been there. I understand it. Looking back now, well, that wasn't that hard, but really at the time it was, because you had Lisa Wong, who was my great client, on the phone saying, "Stuart, come back and take care of me." And I had to really say,
Mm-hmm.
"No, Lisa, I can't, because Mark is much better than me." What happened, Doug, was is that 6 months later, when Mark built up that credibility with them, I'd walk in and Lisa would say to me, "What are you trying to sell me today, Stuart? Why are you here?" Fair enough. That was a mission accomplished. But yeah, right.
Yeah.
It is while you're in it is very, very difficult, and what MSPs have to do is resist the temptation to jump back into the technical world and just even today, 10 years into running Ulistic, I still struggle with that every single day myself. Doug, or a client has a problem, and I feel like I got to jump in and take care of it, because I'm the only one that knows, the insides of PHP in my company. Well, really, my guy Paul down the hall knows just as good as I do, but I just, I need to. Even today still have to get that reminder that, what, if I'm going to grow Ulistic, which our growth is going to be, a little different than what it was back in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
I need to step out and be a CEO and president and let others, and others make mistakes too. That's the thing, right? You got to let others make mistakes, which is a huge, which is still something I struggle with today. So I started Ulistic after exiting out of IT Matters in 2000 or 2008. I exited out. I took a year and worked with a friend, Jeff and Renee, and helped them do some M&A activity in Calgary and Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. And in 2001, my buddy Dave West and I started Ulistic as a small business marketing company. I was totally burnt out of the MSP space. I didn't have nothing to do with the MSP space. And then I did a webinar similar to this with a guy from Microsoft, Mike, who I can't remember his last name now. And I started getting phone calls from people I knew through HTG saying, "Hey, can you come and work with me?" And I took 1 or 2 clients on, and the rest is history. I bought Ulistic outright in October 1st, 2010. David and I still friends today, but we just had a difference of vision. So I bought the name, and then it really just went to work at building it. We opened up an office in Florida. And I'm very fortunate. I have some really, really good clients that I love to take care of. And, we are, like I said, we're a small boutique agency. We know that we're not a fit for everyone, and we're okay with that. We understand that, we're very selective in who we work with, and it's got to be organizations that have the right mindset. So let's get into the real meat and potatoes. Enough about me. Why are we here today? As I mentioned, in 2004, I really woke up and understood that marketing is very, very important for growing our business. People need to know that we exist out there, and anyone can do it. Like me, even me. I talk about myself. I'm just a regular engineer. I mean, I had no marketing training, so if I can do it, anyone can do it. I just became interested in marketing because I just had this natural. I would say God gifted ability to do it, Doug. That's really, I could look at a piece of PHP code and figure it out in a matter of seconds, but also understand how to craft a marketing message. So when you send that email out, the open rate is a little higher than what, say, somebody would just send something blindly without any real thought to it. And that's why I started Ulistic, is because I really had a passion for marketing. And plus my friend Dave had the company name already registered and ready to go. And I really wanted to teach and coach and educate people on how to do online, really how to do digital marketing. This was 2010. We were very early in our space in digital marketing. And, I was very fortunate to, have some really good clients, but, that's what brings us up to where we are today. The most important marketing lesson I learned, Doug, in the many years that I've been doing this now, is no matter what people tell you or the advice other people give you in forums and groups, and we know you and I belong to some of the same Facebook groups and Reddit groups. There's all kinds of people asking for advice, and they're usually getting advice from people that may have some success, but are also struggling in the same area they are. And what I learned, the only advice that mattered to me is what the marketplace was telling me. So yes, I would go to my HTG group and say, I'm thinking about doing this, and what are some of your thoughts? And I would take their thoughts. And then, but the most important thing, I went to my clients and said, here's what I'm thinking about doing. Would you buy this service?
Yeah, like a focus group, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. We called it a client advisory panel. Same idea, right?
Yeah.
And the other key lesson I learned was, and this is where it gets a lot of people into trouble because they want to make sure everything's perfect before they get started. My philosophy is sell it before you create it. So before I spend a lot of time and effort building something like a help desk or an RMM platform or whatever, I went out and sold it. And then I realized, okay, now I got to deliver. And I know there's some people on this call, Doug, that are probably just going and sitting in their seat squirming right now because that goes against totally everything that they believe in, right? I was fortunate. I went to a conference in Orange County, California, at the Hilton by Disney World Disneyland one year, and there was a gentleman, and his name escapes me now, but he said that from the stage: "Sell it before you create it." And I just went, "Wow, that is fantastic bit of advice."
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, if nobody buys it, you don't have to create it.
Well, exactly. Before you go spending all kinds of man hours and money developing something that nobody's going to buy, go and sell them on the concept of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did that with, I'm going to really show how long I've been in this industry for. In 1998, when I was working for ACTAT, the guy John DeYoung's company that I work for, I sat down with John and said, you know what, John, we should sell a solution that we monitor servers. This is 1998.
Mm-hmm.
He said nobody's going to watch that. Nobody's going to want us to monitor servers. Let's go give it a try. Let's go and say $500 a month. We'll monitor your servers. And by the way, monitoring your servers at that time was PC Anywhere dialing into a Shiva box.
Yeah.
Right? Manual. Like none of the fancy tools we have today.
Mm-hmm.
But we went out there and we sold 5 or 6 of them like in the first day. And John says, "Okay, Stuart, figure out how to deploy it." And I went, "Okay." All of our clients have remote access through dial-up. All we need to do is get some sort of remote monitoring stuff. There's a product called PC Anywhere. Let's go install that in the servers and see what happens. And you know what? It worked. And then when I was at Merak, the other company, after I left ACTAT, I did the same thing back, this is now cloud technologies. I went to a Microsoft terminal server training course in 1999. And I came back and said to the president, because his name was Stuart as well. He was just down the hall for me. I said, "Stuart, we should offer our applications through a hosted platform using terminal server." Let me show you what I mean. Like I just installed a terminal server on, and the machine in my office, and I said, "Here's how we connect."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "That's brilliant." So we rolled out our first cloud solution in 1999 before the cloud was the cloud, right?
Yeah, before it existed.
We didn't call it the cloud, but we did. It was technically the early days of the cloud. But the point I want to make is we sold it before we created it. We sold people on the concept and then got to work on building it. And that was a very important lesson that I learned, to help save money. What type of marketing is the most important? Well, the most important marketing that's the one that gets the response from the marketplace that you're going after. San Francisco Bay Area, believe it or not, Yelp. Yelp is a fantastic tool in San Francisco. Everybody seems to go to Yelp, right? In Buffalo, where I had an office in Buffalo when I first got started, it's handshake, buddy to buddy. Let's go have a beer and some wings and let's talk business.
Yeah.
Everywhere is different. So the most important type of marketing is the one that gets the response from the marketplace that you're going after. Everybody says, "Hey, Stuart, should I do digital marketing? Should I do Facebook? Should I do LinkedIn?" And my answer is, let's try them all and go. And the one that gets the response we want, let's go put some more effort there. There was a conversation on Facebook the other day about Facebook ads. I don't know if you saw that one. Somebody asked, should I do Facebook ads? I said, try it. Spend a couple $100. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to be out $200, but you're going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
That give it a whirl. You never know. I know for some people $200 is a lot of money, but it comes back to my sell it before you create it. Try it out and see what works. But it goes back to point number one. The most important marketing lesson one is put your messaging to what the market wants. Now I know, Doug, you guys are in the business continuity backup world at Cloudberry. But you know what? At the end, what matter, what happens in the cloud and the backup world is, and this is proven over time, is the proactive message often fails.
Mm-hmm.
The one that works the most is when somebody has a problem. Hey, you know what? We lost data, right? We got to get it back, right? Then you can have that conversation about proactiveness after you get their data restored.
Yeah.
But because they don't want to be burned again, right? But cybersecurity, everybody's going after. Be proactive with cybersecurity. We got to make sure we have this. And a lot of people are struggling to sell it because the messaging is, people are more reactive than they are proactive when it comes, even with cybersecurity. But you have to figure out what messaging, the market goes after, right? That's the most important thing. Understand the messaging that's going to resonate with your audience. I can tell you right now in IT, here for the 20 or so people that are on this webinar, here's the message that matters right now. Most people are looking for an IT company right now because they're sick and tired of the other one they have right now underachieving, either being an internal guy, another MSP, or the one-man, two-man show company, small companies that just can't deliver on their promises. That's the number one driving factor right now for why people are looking for IT services. But again, you may want to try that in a different marketplace. Are people going to come and attend a webinar for that, or are they going to lunch and learn? Again, try as many things you can and see what works and go after it. So that's the messaging that people, that's when it comes to the most important lesson I learned is understand what the market wants and then go after that market. And the best way to find out is ask your best customers, what do you like about us? Why did you choose this? Why did you choose us in the first place? did you have any other previous relationship? Why did you leave them and choose us? Understand what that is, and then craft your messaging to that. So lesson number one, and I have 10 lessons that I learned, Doug, and let's check for time. I'm going to burn through them. I'm going to burn through them in next 3 minutes. 3 minutes per slide, if I can be so. What's the word I'm looking for? Regimented that way.
Okay.
Right. So lesson number one: mind shift change. Another thing I learned from the same conference I went to in Orange County was back in the day. I think it was the same guy, or it was either him or T. Harv Eker, who wrote Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, wrote and said, you have to be a marketing and sales company first, and then whatever you do second. So the nice thing about 2004, remember my 2x4 story, Doug?
Yep.
2004, I shifted my mindset from being a technology company to a marketing and sales company that just happened to market and sell technology services. So everything that we did were marketing and sales focused first. We had a $900,000 uptick in revenue in 2004 compared to 2003.
Wow.
Just from, and I mean, there was other thing. We joined HCG, we joined Tech Select at the time, but we changed our mindset from being a technology services company to a marketing and sales company that's happened to market and sell technology services. Now, fast forward to 2019, 15 years later, there's some minor adjustments to that messaging. I still think you need to be a marketing and sales company first, and then whatever you do second, but I'm going to add one thing in front of marketing and sales. Today, you need to become a media company. Doug, you're great at hosting these MSP voice webinars and the shows that you do with in the community, and your podcasting and all that stuff that you're doing. We do the same thing at Ulistic. We have a podcast called the MSP Show. We have our YouTube videos. We're creating all this content. We're a media company first, a marketing and sales company second, and then a MSP marketing services company third. And the delta between those two is very, very small. So it's like if you looked at it from a 50,000 foot overview, you wouldn't see any difference. But from a mindset thing, I believe the most successful MSPs in the next 5 to 10 years are going to be the ones that produce the most media. Webinars, interviews, video, how-to videos, podcasting, all that consumable media that people are looking for.
Yeah, and it's especially important, with digital marketing, right? I mean, everything is digital now, right? Someone is not happy with their current provider, they're going to go search online, and whoever comes up and has the most relevant information for them that they can find is probably the one that's going to win the business versus what they know.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one of the things I may get into one of the future slides is you have to answer. Google, for example, is in the business of providing answers to people's questions. So if you can answer questions, and one of the biggest pushbacks I get from a lot of MSPs is, Stuart, I'm not putting pricing on my website. There is no way in God's green earth I'm going to share my pricing model. Okay, here's the wake up call for many of you. You're all within 5 or 10% of each other. Like, I don't know how many phone calls I have, Doug, every day that says, Stuart, we're under NDA, right? You can't share this with anybody. So absolutely, we're totally NDA. I'm not going to share it. You know what? We do only remote management. We don't go on site. That's our secret sauce.
Yeah.
And I would say, sorry to bust your bubble. That you're the 4th phone call today when somebody told me that. Right? Tell me something new, right? But so you're all doing the same thing, right? And that's but people want to know how much things cost. Even the biggest businesses want to know roughly. I had a call yesterday with a guy who says, "Oh, Stuart, I'm concerned about your pricing. You're a little underpriced. I'm more than happy to change it on my website right now if you want, right?"
Yeah.
But people are looking for that information up front. How are you buying, right? You're not, the first question I asked when I booked my air conditioning service call is, how much is it going to cost? Right? I was going to do it anyways because obviously Florida, you need air conditioning in the summertime, right?
Yeah.
But that's one of the biggest things is, share that information. Why not put a video on? It says, how much does managed services cost? Well, here's what we know, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could spend all day, and we don't have a limited time going into that debate, but we can talk more about that later if we want. Lesson 2 for me was business development versus marketing and sales. I know this might be counterproductive to what we're talking about today, but I think a business development mindset is more important than just marketing and sales. Allow me to explain. So business development to me is partner relationships. So like you and I are doing right now, Doug, we have an unofficial partnership where we're developing our relationship. But back in my day, that was working with Microsoft, and that was working with SonicWall and Tech Data and Ingram and all the partners that we had, even local partners like the guy who did my cabling work, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That kind of development, community involvement, being involved in the community, from everything from business to business networking to being a member of the Rotary Club and working at Habitat for Humanity and that kind of stuff, but also building relationships with clients and spending time with them and understanding what makes them make some ticks and do that. And then also, of course, prospects. That's but having a business development mindset versus just marketing and sales, and not everything that you do business development wise shows a net return right away. Sometimes that net return may be several years down the road. So that's the difference between business development and marketing and sales. To me, marketing and sales is an instant gratification. Business development is more of a delayed gratification.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very important to have that mindset. And then lesson 3 for us was celebrate success. And this, I think, is something that most MSPs do a very, very bad job at. So when I come to celebrate success, we won the Microsoft Impact Award in 2006 or 7, I think it was, for our work we did with Good Earth Cafe. Anybody who's been in Western Canada knows Good Earth Cafe. They're everywhere. They're like Starbucks in Western Canada. We won the Small Business Specialist of the Year award, and we did a big party with Good Earth Cafe. And even to the point where we celebrated our success with them by doing some marketing campaigns where we included a pound of Good Earth Cafe coffee that we bought and sent out to prospects with a Microsoft mug with our logo on it. But we celebrated. We had a big party and had the community out because we won this award, and Good Earth Cafe was the client we did. So we celebrated with our client, with our partners. And when I get into partners, celebrate success could be something that's just sending what they call a win wire. If anybody's in HCG knows what a win wire is, a win wire is just an email that you draft up and says, "Hey, Doug, we just signed a big deal with a new law firm in town, and we're gonna, there's $1,200 a month in recurring revenue to Cloudberry.
Mm-hmm.
Doug, what are you gonna do with that email when you get it? Besides read it, of course."
I'm going to be like, well, what can we do to help you be more successful?
That,
right?
and would you also share it with all your peers in the office and
definitely.
Send it to the all staff list?
Yeah.
So I remember going to the Microsoft Partner Conference in Minneapolis many years ago, and Steve Ballmer was speaking from the stage, and I was sitting with Joe Panone from Forza, if anybody knows Joe, and Steve Ballmer said, "I want to know what you guys are doing out in the field." And my email is steveb@microsoft.com. So I put steveb@microsoft.com right into my constant contact. That minute I was sitting and watching him talk. And every time I had a win, I sent it to steveb@microsoft.com. And a few years later, when I was with the IMCP as their chapter president in Canada, we got lucky to stay with, where all the Microsoft brass stayed at too, the same hotel. And I was down at the Starbucks in the morning getting a coffee, and Steve Ballmer was there, and I just started talking to him. And he said, "Steve, I'm from IT Matters in Calgary. I'm the chapter president for IMCP up in Canada." He says, "I know you. You're the guy who keeps sending me that stuff. Good job." I went, "All right, cool." And so we celebrated our wins with our client, even selling it to. I know a lot of people wouldn't never send them an email to Steve Ballmer because that's just not what they're not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But send it to your account reps, and send it to everybody. Celebrate. You won something. Like, celebrate it with everybody, right? Arlen Sorensen calls it a win wire. What a great way to do it. Celebrate it in the community too. If you're, local, I always say, send it to all your local partners and put it in your newsletter and put it everywhere. Hey, we just signed a new law firm, and don't make it about you. Make it about the law firm or the client that you won, and talk about them, because that'll have more mileage.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, send it out to the media. But again, when you do it in the media wise, here's the trick. It's not about you winning the client. It's about the pain point that client had and how you resolved it. And that's the way, because, especially if you send it to a legal magazine or legal blog, they may have more desire to publish it if it's talking about a pain point that other law firms may have.
Yeah.
How you resolved it.
Yeah, it's not just saying, hey, look what I did. It's saying, hey, look what I'm helping this customer do. The issue they were having, and how I was able to help them with the solution.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is a little tough for some people to swallow, but technical service to me do not matter. Like I said, I was not a very good tech. And I remember this is a funny story. This gentleman became a client of mine after I sold my MSP. He's out of the business now, so I can talk about it. He retired a few years ago. But I became a Microsoft MVP, and they made a special category called Windows Client Advocate. Because I wasn't a technical person. MVPs, you have to be a technical person.
Yeah.
But he got upset with me because I got awarded an MVP, and he was trying for years to become the Windows Server MVP. I said, well, I'm sorry. To me, technical services don't matter. I was a client advocate. I was telling the Microsoft story.
Yeah.
And even with Dell back in the day, when Dell was getting, roasted for their partner program, I was waving the Dell flag saying, it's not that bad. Dell's a really good company to work. Now look, everybody partners with Dell, right? So my thing was that I learned technical services don't matter. They do. At the end of the day, you have to be able to deliver services. So those people out there say, well, Stuart, you don't know what you're talking about. Yes, technical services do matter eventually. In this concept, they don't. My thing is that you must, and it's imperative that you outmarket your competitors every single day.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. That was the thing that made us successful in Calgary. I remember I told you the streets are paved with gold, and we're, $150 a barrel in oil. Everybody had the same luxury to market. I just went to the extreme with my marketing, to the point where I would call the sales manager for AccuMap, which was an oil and gas mapping application, and say, hey, Jeff, I want to host a lunch at your office with all of your salespeople, and I'm gonna bring lunch in, and you guys just have to, what day works for you guys? And you say, hey, let's do it in 3 weeks on a Tuesday. No problem. We book it. We would show up with a tray of Subway sandwiches, and we would tell them for an hour on everything that IT Matters did to help oil and gas companies.
Mm-hmm.
Do you not think now when they go out and they hear about a client having issues running their software and it happens to be network related, who's going to be the first, who's going to come to mind right away?
Yeah, the ones that bet them.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have to outmarket your competition every single day, and that was the secret to our success. I'm going to fast forward through these because we're running a little time. Lesson 5 was, it didn't matter how many people I knew, it was how many people knew of me. And I'll share a story on this one. I got a phone call one day, and this gentleman said, hey, Stuart, I got your name from Joe Smith at the Chamber of Commerce. Joe had great things to say about you. And I was like, yeah, great. Joe's an awesome guy, blah, blah, blah. When can I come and meet you? And we got him, eventually he became a client. And I hung up the phone, Doug, and I said, who the heck was Joe Smith? Obviously, I didn't know who Joe Smith was, but Joe Smith knew me. Right?
I've had similar experiences myself, so I know exactly what you mean there.
So obviously, but you're not going to be in what you're not going to be able to facilitate and accomplish that if your head's stuck in a server somewhere, or you're not out. You're sitting behind your desk, hoping that you're going to make a few LinkedIn contacts or send a few email addresses.
Or you ask the person, who the hell's Joe Smith, right?
Yeah, you got to get out. You got to get out and meet people, and you got to handle business. My partners used to joke around that I had like Spider-Man like web launchers in my wrist for business cards. Right? I just whip out my hand and a business card would be attached to it, right? But I got out and met people, and I made sure I would go through 2,500 business cards a quarter, because I had to get, my job as business development was to get out and meet people.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously it must have worked. We we have $5.5 million in 7 years, so something I did worked, right? Lesson 6: partners are people too. Arlen Sorensen taught me this one. Most MSPs. I don't know how. You can probably talk a little bit more about this, Doug, than I can because you're on the partner side. But a lot of MSPs come to partners and say, "Where's my leads? You know, you know, what can you do for me?
Mhm.
And I turned that around and said, what can I do for you? Like, so I went to my Dell rep and I would ask Leslie. I said, and Leslie and I are still friends, even in this day. Leslie, what can I do, to help you get compensated more? And what I found out was Leslie got bonused on boxes shipped by the 17th of the month. So I
Okay.
tried really, really hard to get my orders in before before the 12th, so they can ship by the 17th.
Hmm.
But I understood now obviously I couldn't do it all the time, but that was very, very important. So I came up with a formula, and that seemed to work. Is every Monday I would take my sales pipeline and I would put every prospect I was working on, and I would have columns for every vendor that I was strategically aligned with, and I would put a dollar amount in each column for how much of their involvement would be.
Hmm.
And I would send that sales pipeline report to everyone. So if I was working with you, Doug, every Monday morning, you would get that sales pipeline report for me.
Okay.
It was unheard of for other MSPs to do that, right? So we were top of mind, right?
Hmm.
We were, if I wanted MDS dollars, let's give it to IT Matters because Stuart's proven that he can actually sell our solutions,
Yeah.
right? So that was he. So we sent our sales report every single Monday. We would have I didn't put it on here. We'd have monthly meetings one-on-one with our partner reps. So I would have a meeting with you, Doug, and say, hey, what's going on at Cloudberry? What can I learn? How can I align myself better with you guys? Blah, blah, blah,
Hmm.
blah. Sometimes those calls were 15 minutes, sometimes they're an hour. And then every quarter, I would get every one of my partner reps on the phone in a conference call. So you would be on a call, Doug, with my Microsoft rep, my Dell rep, my SonicWall rep, my Tech Data rep. And what I found, what I would say, okay, guys, I want to launch a firewall campaign. And the Tech Data guy would say, yeah, we have 25 TZ170s in stock.
Hmm.
Dated myself on that product line, right? We had 25 TZ170s in stock. Stuart, I'm gonna mark 20 of them for you. So when the other MSPs went on and wanted to buy TZ150s, they only showed 5 in stock. We had
Yeah.
access to all 25, but 20 were reserved for us. Why? Because I demonstrated that I was able to sell the product.
Hmm.
And we would quarterly strategic, so SonicWall would say to Tech Data, what can you guys do? Blah, 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 blah. And, everybody, what I found is people were talking about us behind our back, which was great because they were starting to scheme and how they can best service us. And then every year I would have all my partners out to Calgary for an annual partner strategy meeting. We book a hotel for a day, and they all had to come at their own dime. And they paid for their own way to get there and everything. And I would say, okay, and if they couldn't come, I would say, I may choose another partner if you can't make it. This is very, very important to us that
Yeah.
you come to our strategy meeting. And we would have, we do a day of, here's our business plan for the next year, our marketing plan for the next year. And then everybody would figure out ways that they can incorporate it. And I would also learn from Microsoft and others what was there on their roadmap, right? If Office 365 or Azure were their big pushes for the upcoming year, I try to look at how do I incorporate Office 365 and Azure into my own marketing plan.
Hmm.
Because again, if you want to play with the big boys, you got to align yourself with them, right? That's
Yeah.
how it works, right? So lesson 7, social media isn't forbidden. We never let anybody. We didn't restrict social media to any of our staff. We encouraged them to use social media because Joe and the tech department had a different way of looking at things than we did. It's just, social media became an extension of everything that we were doing.
Hmm.
You know, LinkedIn at the time, it became an extension of what we're doing, face-to-face networking. I go back and link them up on LinkedIn and be able to share information. It's just about extending the relationship. Most MSPs struggle with social media because they got to think of how do I run ads? How do I get my message out? What kind of information should I share? At the end of the day, it's just about building relationships and fostering those relationships. That's really
Yeah.
what it is. It's just an
Yeah. And
extension to that.
yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I actually, started at a previous company. I started on social media and I became the voice of the company. I registered the company name and I was tweeting on behalf, and I realized, it's about interaction, right? It's not necessarily, crafting the perfect message. It's saying, hey, I hear you, or, let's talk or chat or whatever. And you just build kind of this credibility over time, and you become known as kind of an influencer. And, people, you meet in real life at conferences and things like that, and it's just a great way to kind of your personal brand, but also the brand for the company that you represent.
Yeah, and the most important words you said there were over time, by the way.
Yes, doesn't
Doesn't
happen overnight.
but we had a great discussion about this at our high performance club meeting in Las Vegas last month about Reddit. And we see the benefits of Reddit in the MSP space. You're very involved in it. I'm somewhat involved. I don't get on it all the time, but why not go on to Reddit groups that are in your community? Like, I'm sure there's a Peoria, Illinois Reddit subreddit that you can get involved with. And I love what you said on my podcast about a few months ago. You do more lurking than you do actually engaging.
Yeah.
As a technology professional, you can lurk on there and wait for people to have technology problems and then offer assistance, not by saying, hey, call me for an appointment. Here's what you can do. And here's an article that I published that talks about, how to set up your Microsoft Outlook and, on a MacBook Pro, right? So, or if you don't have something like that, you can create that content right away. How hard is it to do?
Yeah.
So, social media is about building and fostering relationships, sharing good information to those in the community. Lesson 8, become a media hound. I owe a lot of success to guys like Tony Ty, which I have a podcast with Tony Ty up on my website, talking about how to leverage the media. And I have a dedicated resource at Ulistic whose job is it to do nothing but media outreach for our clients, because it's so important. I think media. We had a guy in Orange County, California, published today for some feedback that he offered up through a media relationship. Leverage the media, but also create your own media. Kind of what you were doing right now, Doug. You're creating your own audio and video file format here.
Yeah.
And then, again, gets back into what I mentioned earlier, becoming a content company, right? Produce your own content. It's so easy. I have a selfie stick and an iPhone on my desk that if I have an urge to talk about something, I just whip it on, or I open up GoToMeeting and I record hey, here's my favorite WordPress plugin of the day, and quick a 2 or 3 minute video, and you can see all those on ulistic.com. But create. It's about media is so important right now. That's why guys like Gary Vaynerchuk are very successful, because he actually talks about document versus create. Document the day in the life of working with your clients and going in and talking to your clients and stuff. I think, Doug, the next strategic hire for MSP is going to be a videographer. I think it's a very strategic hire that these guys are going to need to make, and documenting all the stuff that goes on in their company. Super, super important.
And that sounds even like it'd be a great internship.
Yeah, there's a great community college here in Sebring I can probably go call.
Yeah, because that's kids these days, right? They have experience with that type of stuff. So
my 17-year-old nephew, I was going to say my 6-year-old nephew, but he's grown up a lot. My 17-year-old nephew, that's what he does. That's instead of going out and playing soccer and hockey like I did when I was a kid, they're sitting there playing video games and making YouTube videos and stuff like that.
Yep.
It's there's a lot of smart kids out there. I say kids because I'm 50, and I'll say, yeah, there's a lot of smart kids out there. There's a lot smarter people out there than me when it comes to this stuff. Trust me. The web is king, guys. At the end of the day, everybody's going to Google. I think majority of our leads that we generate for our clients are through some sort of Google search or interaction online. If your website is not professional, if it doesn't rank well on search, if you're like every MSP out there and talk about the same thing, if you're not seen anywhere, if you're not everywhere online, this is not in my slides, but great book called They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. Highly recommend you pick it up. Actually, you know what? For the people on the call, if they email me at info@ulistic.com, just say, I want Marcus Sheridan's book, and I will send you a copy of this book. That's how much I love this book.
Okay.
I'll send you a copy of it. info@ulistic.com. Send a copy to me, an email to me, and I'll get it to you. Even if you're listening to it later after we recorded and you're like months later, just email me. Say, I want Marcus Sheridan's book, and I'll send it to you. I awakened to the important. I mean, well, let me rephrase it. I always knew answering questions was important and addressing people's concerns were important. The book just solidified that for me, saying, you know what? So we adopted that mindset for a lot of our clients now, Doug. And I can tell you, their search results are through the roof. Like we were struggling in Atlanta to get a client to rank on. We were just hummer at the bottom of page one, in an 8, 9, and 10 position. And then we changed their focus to they ask you answer. Now if you type in Atlanta IT services, you'll see a company called Centerpoint IT. At the time of this recording, they were ranked number 2, and that was only in a 45-day period since changing their mindset. There's a few other technical SEO things that we did, but that was the primary change, was changing the way they structured the data on their website from, here's our managed services to how much should I expect to pay for managed services? What are the benefits of managed services? Why managed services don't break fix? All these questions that people ask you in the sales process, take them and turn them into content. So, but put it online and get it out there, and don't be afraid to show your pricing, please. That's the biggest takeaway I can give you right now. People want to know how much it's going to cost.
Yeah, I mean, right, when we go to Amazon.com to order something, we're looking at pricing, right?
And sometimes it's not the cheapest guy who wins.
Exactly.
I'm going to tell you that sometimes you can be the most expensive and you're going to get the deal because the law firm appreciates quality.
Yeah.
It's just pricing, but also the testimonials that you do. And that's what I get into here is don't be afraid to share your stories of success. A lot of MSPs, and this is small businesses in general, are afraid to put their client name. What do you think, Doug, when you see a testimonial that says, hey, XYZ company did a great job, CB, warehouse manager?
Yeah.
I think fake news.
Yeah, pretty much. Unless I can actually talk to that person, I don't necessarily believe it's real.
I would, say, hey, put Chris Bailey, director of warehousing, XYZ warehouse, Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
Right. Because now I have a chance, somebody may look and say, I know Chris really well. Maybe I'll call him and see what type of work you're doing. I mean, even in my sales process, before I even onboard a new client, Doug, I say, you know what, I'm going to give you 3 or 4 of my clients to talk to. Because I want you to get the feedback from them before you commit to working with us. Because I have nothing to hide. I mean, you know what? We've screwed up in the past and we've had great stories of success. Every company has, right? That's the most, be transparent, share your stories of success, leverage testimonials, not only on your website, but on every single review site you can think of. Google reviews are equally important. I talked about Yelp in San Francisco. Get lots and lots of reviews. Ask everyone to leave you a review about some interaction that you had, even if it was just a small service call where you went out and fixed something. Always get that review, because that review is worth their weight. And that's, if you're buying stuff on Amazon or looking at a restaurant or a hotel and reading the reviews before you decide to go eat there or sleep there or buy that product on Amazon, people are doing the same thing about your managed services. They're reading the reviews.
Yeah. And that's, like you said, it's not always price that wins. If, something might be $10 cheaper, but if the reviews are bad versus, one that's got, $10 more and it's got great reviews, guess what? I'm probably going to go with the one that has great reviews, even though it's going to cost me more money.
Because you appreciate that first. And you also know that sometimes $50 an hour and somebody taking 5 hours to do it versus an expert who charges $200 an hour but only takes an hour to do it is still cheaper in the long run.
Yeah.
And that's something to keep in mind, right? And I learned about that from my divorce attorney. So that's it, folks. That's all I really have to share with you. It's just, those very simple life lessons I had, in the 17 years that I've been officially as a marketing focused individual. But, ever since my mother, she was alive, would tell you that I was selling when I was 10 years old. I was selling and marketing myself when I was 10 years old. It's a God gift. It's a God gift that I have, Doug, and I love it every day that I have this unique ability just to figure this stuff out for people. And now let's just see. I know we only have a few minutes, Doug, before the top of the hour. But was there any questions that we could field from the audience?
I would love to have some more. If anyone out there has any questions for Stuart, while we're wrapping this up here in the last couple of minutes, definitely utilize the Q&A. I guess one of my questions is, you mentioned the fact that you kind of have this whatever ability for marketing and sales and meeting people and talking to people. What if somebody just doesn't have that? What?
Good.
I mean,
Good
not
question.
everyone has that.
Good question. So I'll kind of go back to that guy that I became an MVP and he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
When he became a client of mine, I had a heart-to-heart with him one day, and I said, George, I'm going to hide his name to protect his identity. I said, George, you know what? As the CEO of the company, you don't have to be in marketing and sales. You can be a technical person. You can be the chief technology officer if you want to. If that's your strength, then go out and hire somebody who has my ability. Because I, as a marketing consultant, I can't do it for you as much as you need to do it. So go out and hire somebody to do it for you. So if and it's hard. And these people, I'm going to sound conceited, but I'm not being conceited. People like me are not walking the face of the earth and walking in your front door every day. Like I have the unique ability to understand technology, like the technical side of things, but also the creative side. I think that's one thing that made me successful in my life was I could see both sides of the equation, right? Technical and if you say, hey, I want to make a change on my website, I can log in technically and fix it. But I also say, I don't know what message I can put. Let me go put a message and I can creatively come up with that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have that skill set, don't hire the first body that walks in your front door. Be very selective, and I also help my clients with that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But hire that person who has that ability. That what you want to look for is an extensive Rolodex. They have a good contact list, right? They bring they have good relationship with people. They're very well known in the community. That kind of person. That's really what if you don't have that ability, start looking for one. And there, you probably can find them. You're probably going to make a few mistakes on your hiring. We all do. You're going to learn as you go. But if you're not the outgoing personality-wise person, it's okay to become the chief technology officer of your company and retain the CEO hat, and also hire a sales and marketing professional for you.
Yeah, that's because it's similar to the next question. It's like, who says I'm a one-man shop? How would I leverage being, business development first? And then he says, get a partner question.
Well, I'm going to steal a line from Gary Vaynerchuk. Is what are you doing between the hours of 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. at night?
Yeah. Okay.
Business after hours of the Chamber of Commerce. Some networking groups have networking events in the evening. They have breakfast events, in the morning at 7. I used to go to our Chamber of Commerce 7:15 club every Tuesday morning. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways you can get your name out there outside of the 8 to 5 where you're focused on servicing the needs of your clients. And one of the things I forgot to mention, and this is kind of tied into that, if you're doing a really good job at your clients, go and ask them if they can introduce you to some of their friends.
Yeah.
There you go. There's another way. Just say, hey, Joe, I know you do. You're the accounts payable clerk at this company. Are you happy with my work? Great. Says, hey, can you introduce me to 2 or 3 other accounts payable people at other companies? Because birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah. And that was that just kind of segues to the next question about, what about referrals?
I can't believe I forgot about that. It's so important.
Yes.
There's so many things that are important, right? Is that, is referrals as well. Just, at the end of the day, you just got to ask for them.
Yeah.
Like, simple enough. If you do, I'm a firm believer, if you do a great service, your clients are going to naturally talk about you.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes you might need a little prod to say, hey.
Sometimes you need a little bit of a prod and say, hey, if you're thinking that, I kind of talked about referrals when I was doing the AccuMap story. Like, I was waiting, I intentionally bought them lunch and talked to the 25 salespeople that day, just so I can get the referrals from them as being in a sales role, because they're all going after the same market that I was going after.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't mention this about business to business networking, but I got so fed up, Doug, with the business to business networking in Calgary that I started my own networking group.
Okay.
I called it the Calgary Technology Club. That was an original name. Like, I don't know how I came up with that name, right? But it was me, and I had David West, who was my partner in Ulistic in the early day. He was our website guy. Terry Parsons, my cabling guy. Tina Pillow, who was my leasing rep at First Capital Finance, and a few other people who were in the technical sales role but didn't compete with me. And we would meet every Thursday for lunch, and we had our own little leads club.
Okay.
But meetup.com, just go there, look up on meetup.com. There's probably hundreds of organizations in a major metropolitan area that you can go and talk to or
Mm-hmm.
go and hang out with. And even if there's the Houston legal professionals meetup group, right, where and there's 5 legal professionals that get together every Saturday morning for coffee. If you go and say, hey, I want to come and talk to you about what's going on in the legal professional world of technology, I want to learn from you,
Mm-hmm.
chances are they're going to invite you in and say, yeah, come on in. Leverage those little groups. Like that goes back to that guy who is a one-man show and doesn't have the time during the day to go to meetup.com and see what's meeting outside of regular business hours. And
Yeah.
and you know what, Doug, I want to be cautious because I know a lot of people have small or young families and they got fatherly or motherly responsibilities as well.
Mm-hmm.
So don't make the same mistake. If I made one mistake, is I was too focused on growing my company and I missed those valuable years of my kids being like 5 years old to 14 years old.
Yeah.
I was an absentee father, but my kid, I went up to my sons a few months ago. I said, guys, I feel bad that I didn't, my kids, Dad, you were great. You worked really hard to give us the life that we have today.
Yeah.
And that was all I needed. But I wish I would have spent more time with them. But so be cautious. That balance the family time with the business development time. You don't have to be as gung ho as I was.
Yeah, and I know that's something I believe HTG focuses on too. Is it's that work-life balance. You can't make it all about work all the time. So
Yeah, if you listen to guys like Kevin O'Leary, they'll probably throw the BS flag on that one. But yeah, there comes a time to work, and there comes time not to work, and there's you gotta be cautious of both.
yeah, great, Stuart. I really appreciate all the information that you gave us today. Awesome having you as a guest. Looking forward to working with you more in the future. And I think you said info@ulistic.com if people want to email you, ask you questions.
Yeah.
I'll put that on the blog as well when I put the recording up. But thank you very much for today.
Yeah, and don't forget to ask me for that They Ask You Answer book. I'll be more than happy to put it in the mail to you. So,
Sounds
unfortunately,
good.
if you're outside of the U.S., that might be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll figure out a way to get something to you if you're in Canada or Australia or wherever you're listening.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks, Doug, for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Stuart. And thanks everyone for tuning in.